Another mystery buried deep in the hills of eastern Washington keeps resurfacing. A bottomless pit said to be a pathway to the paranormal. KOMO 4's Denise Whitaker heads east in search of the hole.
An underground base, a very small underground base.
Mel Waters made a chilling revelation during a radio show about a mysterious hole on his property, with strange happenings and the notion that the hole was bottomless. There are even rumors that the U.S. shut down the hole after a drone captured strange things that can't be shown to the public. This raises the question, what is the mystery hole all about? How did the U.S. government get involved? What are they hiding? Stick to the end of this video, we unravel the mystery behind Mel's hole. What lies inside will leave you speechless. Chapter 1. Art Bell Radio Program. No one would possibly have known anything about Mel's hole if Art Bell had not started a radio program that focuses on mysterious findings. Bell was a well-known American broadcaster. He gained popularity through his radio program, Coast to Coast AM, which became very popular due to its examination of unusual subjects, conspiracy theories, and paranormal events. Late-night programming on Coast to Coast AM began at approximately 10 or 11 p.m. and continued into the morning, concluding at roughly 4 a.m. Bell's engrossing storyline and dynamic hosting manner enhanced the program. Bell's program explored various topics, including cryptids, alternative medicine, government cover-ups, ghosts, and UFOs. In addition, he offered a forum where visitors, professionals, and phone users could exchange views, opinions, and conversations about these outlandish subjects. Bell's show attracted listeners looking for unusual and thought-provoking content, building a community of people fascinated by mysteries and unexplained phenomena. When Mel Waters was a guest in 1997, the eager listeners were ready for the latest story. Unknown to them, this mystery would go on for years and even attract the government's attention. Mel came on the show and began to talk about a mysterious hole in his home. I used a fishing line and a weight to measure it, and according to my calculations, it's 80,000 feet deep. Also, there are strange occurrences like a black bean that could come out of the hole and shoot into the sky at times, he added. Mel also believed the hole had magical powers to restore any dead animal thrown into it back to life. That is unbelievable. Who wouldn't itch to hear more of that? Born in the mid-20th century, Mel Waters' life took an unexpected turn when he stumbled upon this inexplicable pit on his property. In the early 1990s, he moved to this remote and rugged area in Manistash Ridge, aiming for a quieter and more secluded lifestyle. However, that didn't happen as the hole threw him into the spotlight. Waters described the mysterious qualities of the hole, which captivated Bell's listeners. Mel became well known after being featured on Bell's show, arousing people's interest in the enigmatic hole and its purported supernatural qualities. Due to this broadcast, his statements regarding the pit became more widely known, sparking more conversations, rumors, and public attention. The program contributed to Mel's hole's ascent into popular culture and the paranormal, enhancing its reputation as an enthralling but elusive mystery. Waters initially faxed Bell, detailing the perplexing discovery of the mysterious hole on his property. He shared intriguing details about the hole, its bottomlessness, and the strangeness associated with it. What are these strange happenings? Keep watching. With millions of listeners nationwide, the program boasted a large audience reach. Furthermore, the late-night broadcast window of the program was ideal for drawing in a committed and varied viewership interested in examining paranormal events, conspiracy theories, and unusual subjects. The program was quite successful, and at the time, it was one of the most influential and listened to late-night radio shows. No wonder Mel's hole attracted a lot of attention. But first, where is this hole located? According to Mel, the hole is in a mysterious location near Manistash Ridge in Washington, D.C. However, many argued that this was not the location, and later, Mel would talk about a second hole. The hole was named after the local inhabitant Mel Waters, whose stories helped it gain notoriety. Although the hole's precise location and coordinates are still unknown, the area is renowned for its natural beauty and is home to this unusual anomaly. You might wonder how Mel learned about the hole. He said he didn't wake up and decided to start searching for a hole. Instead, he discovered a strange pit while working on his expansive property. When Waters discovered that the hole seemed to be extremely deep, virtually endlessly deep, he disseminated his research, arousing interest and conjecture among a broad audience. People found it hard to believe when Waters claimed that the hole was bottomless and could consume anything without producing a sound. His reports of the anomaly's supposedly infinite depth heightened the sense of mystery and skepticism among nearby residents and others. Since then, Waters' tales have attracted much attention and fascination. Mel disclosed in the interview that he had bought the property a few years before the discovery, noting that the previous owners had owned it for over 30 years. The neighbors knew about the pit and frequently dumped their trash, but it never seemed to fill up. It was a circular pit with a stone retaining wall extending about 15 feet below the ground's surface. Beyond the wall, the entire board hurled dirt and bedrock, leading to a never-ending darkness. No one could recall a time when the hole did not exist. It's like it has always been there from inception, and there seems to be no end to the pit. Anything dropped into it made no sound. No splash, no crash. Well, it could have been a deep hole with a bottom, but the strangeness associated with it proved otherwise. Chapter 2. Unusual Occurrences Around the Hole. According to reports, many strange events happen around the hole. For instance, animals avoided the area, and strange signals interfered with technological gadgets. As a result, the hole attracted interest and discussion that extended well beyond the local area. At first glance, Waters mistook the pit for a well due to its appearance. His vivid descriptions paint a mysterious yet captivating image. Situated within the rugged terrain of Manastash Ridge, the hole has a perfect circular opening. Its diameter is thought to be approximately 9 feet. The rugged, natural terrain surrounding the pit contrasts strongly with its smooth, nearly immaculate borders. According to Waters, the pit was unfathomably deep. Reports from that time have stated that the depth might range from thousands to an infinite number of feet. The hole appears to reach eternally into the Earth's depths from the exterior, as there is no discernible bottom. Even strong lights cannot completely penetrate the darkness after a certain degree. In addition, Waters saw strange temperature variations that were inexplicable and steam emerging from it on cold days. Wait a second. Could this be a black hole? Is the US government also suspecting the same thing, and why they shut it down? Mel Waters was not the first to find the strange pit. A few residents were aware of it beforehand. Due to its reputation for having an untamed and isolated landscape, the location drew those looking to live off the grid or in solitude. However, the information was kept secret. Mel Waters characterized the hole as having peculiar physical characteristics. It was nothing like a traditional well, even though it looked like one. Waters observed odd things happening around the hole related to electronics. The region was mysterious, as he noted radio interference, and his radio equipment picked up odd messages. Another captivating feature was the unusual behavior of the indigenous fauna. Birds seemed to stay away from flying above this hole. Mel also noted that his dogs were not particularly eager to approach the hole, which he says is untypical of them. Furthermore, despite the hole's apparent depth at the top, Waters described seeing mysterious lights or beams emerging from it. During one of these moments, he saw a solid black beam that resembled a searchlight emerge from the hole's depths and reach the sky. A dead dog was purportedly lowered into the enigmatic pit in another hotly debated story that Waters related. Instead of burying his loyal friend, the dog's owner decided to drop it into the pit. The dog resurfaced a few days later, well and alive. Claiming to have been brought back to life by the mysterious qualities of the hole, the revived dog showed renewed vigor and vitality. When the owner spotted the dog running in the woods, he repeatedly called out to it. Unfortunately, the dog no longer seemed to recognize his voice and continued to run as if something was chasing it. While speaking on the show, listeners raised several theories and questions to confirm whether the hole was indeed bottomless. Bell Art then suggested that someone be lowered into the pit to give a personal report of what was below. Mel was worried about the hazards further down the pit, like high temperatures, extremely high air pressure, and poisonous gases. Despite these reservations, A caller enthusiastically offered to help, but no firm arrangements were formed to carry it out. But here's a shocking point. Mel's wife had disappeared without a trace. Couldn't it possibly be that the woman lies beneath the hole? Well, that's one of the mysteries that no one ever thought about or solved. We can't even be sure. However, as Mel's curiosity got the better part of him, he decided to experiment using the knowledge he had gained from fishing for sharks. He thought he could find out if there were water in the pit by extending a fishing line into it. He then lowered the end of the line into the pit and threaded it through a roll of lifesaver candy. The candy hung 1,500 feet below for a while, but when he pulled it back up, it remained intact, indicating no water at 1,500 feet. For his next test, Mel began by lowering a single PB lead weight into the pit. When his fishing line ran out, he connected a fresh spool and carried on. He repeated this process, stretching the line until he had used an incredible 80,000 feet of line, more than 15 miles. Chapter 3. Sudden Appearance of Soldiers. After Mel's appeared on the show, several local myths about the pit surfaced. While some assertions made sense about what Waters said, others were implausible. Someone proposed, for example, that the hole was a portal through which spirits passed, or a doorway to another world. Some mythologies connected the hole to creation stories, attributing its existence to legendary creatures or giving it a function in the universe's order. Some rumors claimed people were going missing close to Mel's hole. Well, that can't be true because that would mean Mel should have disappeared before ever reaching out to art through facts. Despite the absence of hard data, these tales added to the enigmatic atmosphere surrounding the location. Reports of strange sightings, atmospheric disturbances, and other unexplainable occurrences enhance the story of the region's enigmatic nature. Despite investigations, there are no conclusive answers to these incidents, making it even scarier. But after the show, Mel met a surprising sight on his land. 4 days after the show, armed military troops suddenly blocked the road leading to his home. More surprising was that the soldiers didn't allow him to access his property. This startled him, and when he asked for an explanation, he received a confusing reply. The soldiers said there had been an aircraft accident on the land. However, Mel had not noticed anything similar. There were no outward indications of the incident, such as smoke or debris. His perplexity was exacerbated by the sight of personnel dressed in hazmat suits. Mel tried to interact with the authorities by requesting to talk with a higher-ranking official, but he was met with ambiguous and intimidating answers. When he insisted on knowing what was happening because, after all, this was his territory, they threatened him, saying they might discover evidence of his guilt, like a drug lab on the land. Mel responded that he would make all this public, but the cop laughed it off. Mel tried to seek clarification and reason with the authorities, but the situation remained secretive. The already mysterious story of Mel's hole gained even more depth and intricacy with this military participation. After this confusing interaction with armed military officials, Waters returned to the air to discuss everything that had happened. While on the show, he revealed that his real estate agent had suggested possible purchasers expressing interest in buying his property. Despite no firm bid, the agent convinced Mel that the deal would be profitable. For the first time, Mel also described an encounter with an elder in the community, who revealed that stone columns had formerly surrounded the pit. The hole may have experienced numerous alterations during its long history, and may have been far older than previously believed. A caller cleared the mist surrounding the soldiers' sudden appearance. The caller said that Mel's property was close to the Yakima Training Center, a government facility, which could have triggered the military's appearance. Another person interrupted the discussion by asserting that the region was known for unusual occurrences and UFO sightings. The show ended, but nobody expected what would happen next. Mel vanished. Chapter 4. Mel resurfaced. But in 2002, Mel unexpectedly returned to Bell's show. Where had he been hiding for all this time? Mel had a new tale to tell. 3 years earlier, he was caught up in an odd chain of circumstances when he was supposed to make his third appearance on the radio show. After assisting his nephew with moving into an apartment, he caught a bus back to Olympia. However, transit authorities stopped the bus due to certain disturbances. He alighted from the bus, and after being escorted onto a different bus along with others, he passed out. Subsequently, he discovered himself in a San Francisco dirt alley. In addition to having an IV line in his arm for no apparent reason, his personal belongings were gone. 3 of his molars were missing, adding to the oddity. Mel, lost and desperate, contacted his nephew to ask for assistance getting back to Olympia. After that, he was presented with an amazing offer: a lifelong lease on his land in return for a substantial monthly payment of $250,000. But there was a catch. He had to move somewhere else and keep quiet about the pit. Thus, Bell took the money and moved to Australia. In 2002, Mel Waters vowed to no longer remain silent. Mel's hole had garnered much attention by this point. But then, Mel's appearance came with something shocking: the second hole. This is even more intriguing. Sit tight, as the capability of this hole is out of the norm. Chapter 5: A Second Hole. On the show, Mel shared an intriguing story about finding a unique dime. The coin featured President Roosevelt's image and the year 1943, which was unusual as there were no dimes with Roosevelt's image that year. Adding to the mystery was the mint mark B on the dime, an unconventional detail since American mints are not named after letters. Mel sent it to a professional coin appraiser, but when he checked in again a few days later, the appraiser claimed that the Treasury Department had claimed the coin. But why would they act in that way? There are many different explanations and speculative ideas regarding this unusual coin. According to some theories, the coin can be connected to Mel's hole-related extraterrestrial occurrences. There are also speculative factors surrounding Mel's hole, including stories of time distortions connected to the location. People who have reported seeing strange time-related phenomena close to the purported location have detailed these events. A few people say they have noticed irregularities connected to time close to the hole. These legends commonly claimed time dilation, in which time appeared to move more slowly than usual, or incidents of clocks or other timekeeping devices supposedly malfunctioning randomly. While some described missing time instances where they could not account for a portion of their experiences, others claimed to have seen odd oscillations in the passage of time. A number of explanations have been proposed to explain these purported time-related events connected to Mel's hole. Theories regarding how gravitational anomalies could produce time dilation effects and interdimensional rifts were among the theories floated. However, in the absence of hard scientific proof or thorough research, these occurrences and speculations are still only conjectural elements connected to the mystery of Mel's hole. As per the dime, Mel had a different story to tell, and this led to the revelation of the second hole. This was how it all happened. A group of Native Americans in Nevada contacted Mel via email. They invited him to their reservation to discuss his knowledge of arts and crafts and wild plants. Mel traveled to Nevada to meet people interested in his research and intrigued by the plants he had grown close to the original hole. He described these plants, and the Native Americans led him to another area of land where they had their own hole. This second hole was located on public land in the center of a village where Basque residents had made their homes. The Basques are a small, isolated ethnic community originating in a particular European region. They have been rearing sheep in Nevada since the 1800s, and the hole was of spiritual significance to them. Like Mel's hole, this was about 9 feet wide, but instead of a stone retaining wall, it had a metal collar surrounding it. The metal lining reached as far as the eye could see, and like Mel's hole, the metal rim radiated a distinct field of warmth that was distinct from regular heat. This new pit had unique sound-canceling qualities. Sounds directly above it were absorbed, and striking the metal rim made no sound. Animals were scared of this hole, and reports of seeing a black beam emanating from it were similar to what some had seen near Mel's hole in Washington. Mel and the villagers embarked on a series of experiments. Initially, they lowered a bucket of store-bought ice approximately 1,500 feet deep into the pit. Concurrently, they left another bucket of ice at the surface for comparison, allowing it to melt halfway before retrieving the pit ice. Surprisingly, the pit ice did not melt. Instead, it stayed lukewarm. Even more astonishing was its solid state when Mel touched it. When they tried to melt the lukewarm ice, it caught fire. The fire produced a heat-generating flame that resembled a flickering light rather than the usual huge yellow flame. Mel related the incident on the radio, mentioning that the bucket of ice kept burning for weeks. They repeated the bucket experiment during the winter, but the results were inconsistent, working only about 1/3 of the time. During one attempt, one of the Basques expressed a desire to be lowered into the hole, but they dissuaded him due to the peculiar results of the ice. Instead, they decided to lower a sheep into the pit. However, the sheep fiercely resisted the idea, kicking, screaming, panicking like all animals, refusing to go near the hole. Determined to achieve their aim, the Basque stunned the sheep between the eyes and placed it inside a crate with a cable attached for lowering. The sheep let out terrifying cries that could have chilled anyone, but as soon as the crate containing the lamb was placed squarely above the pit, all sound stopped. The sheep kept shaking the box ferociously, but there was total silence above the hole. The sheep struggled as it descended inside the crate, but there was no movement by the time it reached the halfway point of the cable's length. Mel and the locals left the sheep underground for 30 minutes. After experiencing a strange, hazy vibration in the metal rim, they hoisted it back to the surface. The box had stopped moving from the outside and everything seemed normal. However, the sheep had died. But then, it still looked fresh. This prompted a Basque elder to dissect the animal on a nearby table. It then appeared as though the sheep had been fried inside. The villagers observed a large tumor development inside the sheep and spotted an odd gel surrounding it. When they sliced up the tumor, which appeared to pulse like a meaty sack, a creature that looked like an 18-inch long mix between a seal and a fetus, complete with flippers but human-like eyes, emerged. Amazingly, the creature was alive and attached to the tumor by an umbilical cord. It looked at the human observers, detached itself from the cord, and appeared to be in a state of miraculous presence. Mel was prompted to place the creature on the ground after it cowered to the edge of the table and gave her a slow nod before turning around and willingly returning to the hole. The witnesses were so affected and emotionally spent by this incredible experience that, in the end, they decided to throw the sheep's remains back into the hole. Mel mentioned that a Basque, the elder, who had always believed the hole was a spiritual site, did not appear shocked by the monster. Before turning in for the evening, he gave Mel an item and told him to preserve it. Mel collected it without looking at the object, and later, when he reached into his pocket, he discovered what the elderly man had found in the vicinity: a 1943 Roosevelt dime sealed in a small red envelope. That explains how he got the dime. We can then conclude that the second hole must have been the mysterious source of the dime. But there's one more thing. Mel claimed that, before his trip to Nevada, he had been diagnosed with a terminal form of esophageal cancer, and that, upon returning home, the cancer had miraculously disappeared. Mel thought the creature he had encountered in Nevada somehow healed him. Well, that's just by the way. Let's get back to knowing more about Mel's first hole. How did the hole come into existence? Chapter 6. What led to the existence of the hole? A number of wild explanations have been proposed to explain Mel's hole. There are rumors that the government might be involved. It is not new to consider the possibility that military interests could try to manipulate or control any apparent abnormalities in a particular region. Nevertheless, there is no concrete evidence for these assertions. Some speculate that the hole may have been caused by historical volcanic activity and might represent the entrance to a network of volcanic caves hidden beneath the surface. These hypotheses speculate that these caverns may contain strange geological formations or unknown secrets. A more imaginative and speculative theory centers on a hollow Earth, where the hole would serve as a portal to a subterranean inner world. According to this notion, there could be large underground areas on Earth that could support undiscovered civilizations. According to a fringe notion, the hole might serve as a conduit or gateway to alternative universes or other realms. This theory conjectures about the likelihood of interdimensional travel or interactions taking place there. Some theories propose that holes have peculiar electromagnetic properties or draw energy from special natural sources. This theory's proponents think that these energies could cause the odd events seen in the vicinity. Another theory is on extraterrestrial intervention, speculating that the hole may be connected to extraterrestrial technology or function as a UFO landing spot. This notion frequently combines with reports of nearby UFO sightings and contacts. Despite their absurdity, these ideas provide a variety of occasionally contentious insights into the true nature of the hole. Some hypotheses are based on scientific principles, while others explore the domains of mythology and pseudoscience. However, some natural explanations exist for some of the hole's associated events. For instance, the area where the hole is located may have distinctive mineral resources or geological formations that impact the environment. These anomalies could be caused by subterranean tunnels that produce bizarre effects or distortions, magnetic fields, or peculiar rock compositions. Magnetic fields produced by some geological formations can potentially interfere with electronics and change perception. This influence could result in reports of weird encounters, skewed equipment readings, or altered senses. It is also possible that the region has seen mild earthquake activity, which could have caused visual abnormalities. Although these motions might not be powerful enough to trigger earthquakes, they might have a subtle impact on the environment and be a factor in strange events that have been documented. The region's particular atmospheric or climatic circumstances may also be a significant element. They could contribute to sensory distortions or visual illusions. For example, atmospheric anomalies or mirages may produce mysterious optical illusions. Perhaps some of the landscape's elements are designed to produce illusions or alter perceptions when viewed from specific angles or lighting situations. Unusual rock formations, topographical features, or reflective surfaces may cause weird phenomena. Human perception and memory are naturally prone to biases and mistakes. Therefore, psychological influences on reported events can occasionally cause misinterpretations or exaggerations of the true events. However, here is another perspective on the matter. Many often perceive everyday occurrences as mysterious or unexplained due to local legends, myths, or cultural beliefs. This cultural effect may make anomalous events around the hole appear more real. However, such explanations do not necessarily discredit personal experiences that individuals attest to having. What is at the bottom, then? If the exact coordinates of the hole were known to the public, it would be simpler to answer. Numerous explorers and specialists have attempted to solve the riddle. One American native, Gerald R. Osborne, better known as Red Elk, has claimed to have seen the hole. Osborne claimed to have made multiple trips to the hole since 1961. Furthermore, he disclosed that the hole was connected to a top-secret government base that researches alien activity. However, decades after his initial visit, Osborne led a group of 30 people on an excursion in 2002, but they could not find it. So, should we conclude that the hole has ceased to exist? Chapter 7. Maybe not real after all. A geologist named Jack Powell of Ellensburg was among those listening during one of the earliest coast-to-coast AM shows with Mel Waters. Powell, who has worked as an exploratory geologist for petroleum companies, taught geology at CWU for 11 years, and worked with the DNR for more than 20 years, thought he knew where the hole was. When he was a kid, he grew up in the Kittitas Valley and played around an old gold mine shaft that went down at an angle into a field northwest of Ellensburg. Powell estimated that the shaft on the valley floor was likely 90 feet deep or more. It may have been as much as 300 feet deep when it was an active mine. When Powell heard on the radio show that Mel's hole was said to be on Manistash Ridge and more than 80,000 feet deep, he couldn't listen any longer. He knew the deepest mine shaft in the world was 12,672 feet deep, and the deepest known cavern was 7,188 feet. The Russians drilled the deepest borehole, down 40,230 feet, in 1989. Powell noted that the hole he knew must be what Mel changed into a mysterious hole. He had 30 years of experience in the geology of eastern Washington, especially lower Kittitas County and Manistash Ridge. Powell noted that geologically and physically, having such a deep hole is impossible. According to him, it would collapse into itself under the tremendous pressure and heat from the surrounding layer. He concluded that Mel Waters must be talking about the hole northwest of Ellensburg on private property, fenced with barbed wire, and not too far from state DNR lands. He believed Mel leveraged this hole to build a story around his mysterious hole on Manistash Ridge. However, in 2001, Seattle area discussion group members studying Mel's hole contacted Powell. Why? They wanted access to geological information and to research Mel's hole. To them, the Mel's hole exists. The group visited him, and he gave them a thorough lecture on the Manistash Ridge geology. He then led them to the old mine shaft and told them it inspired the mythical Mel's hole. The hole on Manistash Ridge doesn't exist, he said. However, the group didn't leave the possibility of finding Mel's hole. They later formed a group known as the Paranormal Society. But then, here is a twist. A record shows that Melvin Waters never lived in Manistash Ridge. The continued speculation that he adopted a pseudonym to protect his identity has seriously damaged the credibility of his story. Also, Art had always asked for pictures of the hole, but Mel always replied that he forgot to do that on every occasion. He also claims that interference prevents cameras from working nearly all the time, or that although he has photos and videos, they are not easily accessible. He says he will email them as soon as he can. Nowadays, a popular theory holds that Mel's tale became increasingly weird until he could not follow it and gave up on the quest to fool the world. But is it truly non-existent? If yes, what then did the US shut down? Well, there's one more story for you. Chapter 8. Paranormal Enthusiasts. 30 years later, in 2017, paranormal enthusiasts and those fascinated by the fabled Mel's hole teamed up with GoPro cameras, lights, and strings in hand in hopes of catching a glance into this fabled abyss. Suddenly, they were led by coordinates from a Reddit thread to a random farm that might be connected to Mel's hole. When they arrived, they were met with the sheer depth of the chasm, which defied easy explanation. They threw rocks since they could not figure out the bottom, which increased the mystery around this fabled hole. The group used binoculars to see a mysterious person watching them from a distance. But before carefully reviewing the video they had taken, they felt compelled to leave immediately. Later on, the group found a beetle in the enormous hole. But then, this doesn't look enthralling, like what Mel said about his hole. Research is still ongoing concerning this hole. However, the rumor was that the US government had shut down the mysterious hole. Therefore, the world can only wait till researchers are able to access this hole again. Thanks for watching another episode of Beyond Discovery. While you're still here, check out the other videos you see on your screen.